Sticky Fingers by J.T. Lawrence. I learned how to keep a secret when I was 3 years old. It started on an ordinary day, a sunny Joburg afternoon. I was in my mom's arms while she was buying cigarettes from the sweet counter at Checkers. She used to smoke the Dunhill 30s that came in a wide red and gold box, with gold foil inside, and a white underside that was perfect for scribbling shopping lists and working out math problems. When making the smoker stop after doing the grocery shopping, she'd always let us choose a few little chocolates for the sweetie bowl at home. Maybe it made her feel less guilty about spending money on cigarettes, or smoking around us. Maybe it was just her being kind. Even on a teacher's salary, she was always generous. She'd give us each a silver bowl, and my older brother and I would be allowed to choose a few different treats. We always went for the chocolates. The other stuff was a waste of time. My favorites were the chocolate peanut clusters, followed closely by the chocolate coconut clusters. The bowls were then weighed and paid for. A sweet ritual. That day, while everyone else's eyes were on the scale, including mine, a little 3-year-old hand reached out towards the sweets, and before I knew it, there was a chocolate toffee finger melting in my pocket. I don't know what made me steal it. Mom had already bought me the chocolates I'd wanted. I'm not even sure I liked chocolate toffee fingers. Perhaps I was just born an opportunist. Maybe my kleptomania was inherent to my makeup, along with my bad temper, green eyes, and big feet. Sometimes I wonder if I would still be a thief if that first incident hadn't happened. If I hadn't experienced that hot thrill of having something that didn't belong to me. If, for some reason, I'd resisted that first childish impulse to grab, perhaps my restless heart wouldn't be forever waiting for the next nice thing to steal. Was I too young to understand right from wrong? Perhaps. I did show off my loot the moment we got into the car, which makes me think that I didn't know what I had done was wrong. Wasn't it quite clever of me to get something for nothing? I don't remember if I was expecting praise or punishment. I did learn then that I shouldn't show anyone what I had stolen, no matter how urgent the desire becomes. That's when I learned how to keep a secret. When I was 5, I kidnapped 2 dolls from nursery school. I sneaked them out in my scruffy cardboard suitcase. It wasn't so much stealing in my mind then, it was more the fact that I loved the dolls so much that I thought they should be living at home with me. Their names were Nadia and Devon. Once the stowaways were discovered, my mother marched me to the teacher to return them and apologize. The teacher was so very kind about it. Not only did she not scold me, but she agreed that, as I was such a good mother to the dolls, I should be allowed to keep them. She was sure that they would be happier with me. Looking back now, I wonder if this confused my developing moral compass. Whatever caused it, bad genes or bad luck, I am, and most likely always will be, a thief. It took me a while to admit it, but that doesn't make it any less true. There is no arguing with the 264 lipsticks I have stashed under my bathroom sink, or the army of restaurant salt and pepper sellers that take up an entire double cupboard in the kitchen. In my 20s, I referred to myself as a collector. I was making a stand against soulless industrialization and crass materialism. Look, I thought, I can take this without anyone even noticing. Row upon row of similar trinkets. My cupboards looked like Andy Warhol installations. I thought I was smart, ironic. I wasn't fooling anyone. Sometimes I take things for specific reasons. I was at a cocktail party a few months ago, and the hostess was this awful person. She had a horsey face and kept guffawing all over the place. She kept forgetting my name and calling me Love. And I know it was because I'm a housewife, and she thinks I don't matter. I turned my back on her soggy canapes, but it wasn't enough. I knew I'd have to take something of hers. And I did. She didn't deserve to have the sweet ceramic rabbit miniature I found in her display cabinet, and I was certain he was much happier when he left in my clutch later that night. It could also be due to nominative determinism. You know, like when your name is Bolt and you become the fastest sprinter in the world, or Candy and you become a stripper. Maybe that last example isn't such a good one. That's more like just changing your name to suit your talent. My name is Nicolette, and people call me Nikki or Nick. It's quite funny, I think, and I catch myself wanting to tell people, but of course, I can't. It's lonely, being a klepto. So much of your existence revolves around your conquests and close calls, but you can never share that part of your life with other people. Last week, I took the most beautiful orange and cream silk scarf from Poetry. Scarves are one of the easiest things to steal, apart from panties and lipstick. But I can't tell anyone about it. It has the most charming elephant print on it. I can't even wear it, because if Derek, my husband, sees it, he'll demand to see the receipt. Sometimes I fantasize about an online dating site that caters to people like me. Of course, I wouldn't actually date anyone. I'm happily married, but it would be wonderful to just meet some like-minded people and share our stories. Derek keeps giving me more cash. He sneaks it into my wallet and I pretend that I don't notice. I already have 2 credit cards that he pays off every month. He has always had so much money. It frustrates him to not be able to pay to make this problem go away. But it's not about money. He doesn't understand. My best friend Sylvia is the only one I can really talk to, but I can't tell her everything either. She is one of the least judgmental people I know, but even she has her limits. I have to be careful to select only the stories I'm bursting to tell and hide everything else, like the fake pearls I took from my sister-in-law's jewelry box on Saturday, and the sandalwood-scented candle I got from the esoteric shop at Rosebank Mall. Esoteric shops are so easy to lift from. They are all too often dimly lit, have poor security measures, and the shop assistants simply don't expect their customers to steal. Bad karma and all of that. When I hold back from telling Sylvia for a few weeks, she gets this bright look in her eyes. "You're getting better," she'll say. Or, "You've turned a corner." She can be so naive. She's never really had any money, not much anyway, but I'm sure she hasn't stolen a thing in her life. A few years ago, she made me start writing down, item for item, the things I was taking. She thought I was in denial about the extent of my problem. I'm not. But I enjoy the exercise of recording my acquisitions, and I still do it. I have 12, stolen, notebooks full of excited entries. They read like accountants' ledgers. The pages are well thumbed. One of my favorite things to do is to go through the lists and remember the moments they brought with them. It makes me feel like a collector again. It makes it more real, in a way. More honest. The books are stacked underneath our bed. Only Sylvia knows about them. I met Sylvia years ago at one of Derek's company's functions. They worked in the same building but had never met. I actually introduced them, and now we're all great friends. We've got a lot in common. Over the years, she's become part of the family. The kids love her. Did I mention we have kids? A 4- and a 6-year-old. A boy and a girl. I resisted the urge to name them Nadia and Devon. I'm sure that we look like the picture-perfect family to some, to those who don't know about my habit. Sylvia is like the kids' fairy godmother, always wooing them with gifts and food. She's like my fairy godmother too, I guess. A couple of years ago, I was caught shoplifting a pair of Dolce & Gabbana sunglasses from Santon City. Depending on your technique, sunglasses can be an easy lift. Because you end up trying so many pairs on, there are bound to be some floating around the shop, unattended to. You have to do it when the shop is relatively busy. Sales are always a good time. And you should arrive with a similar pair to the ones you want to nick, preferably perched on your head. Once you choose a pair, you replace the old ones with the new, et voila! Out you flounce with a new pair of shades. This has worked for me over and over. But on that unlucky day, the security guard was paying attention. Perhaps my lipstick was too red. It was Revlon New Cherry. Bold makeup on a shoplifting spree is never a good idea. People don't trust women whose lipstick is too bright. But one gets complacent and neglects the rules. I hadn't been caught for so long that I stopped believing it could happen. Started thinking I had some kind of magical power. Ignored the bad karma of stolen lipstick. So I made the switch quite near to the exit, and then turned to walk out. And next thing, there was a strong hand grabbing me, like a headmaster would yank the arm of a troublesome child. It was shocking, but expected at the same time. I tried to act confused, concerned, then indignant, but I could see the guard wasn't buying it. He was quiet and kept glancing up at the red LED light of the security camera, as if waiting for someone to come down and give him the go-ahead to slap some cuffs on me. After a perfunctory exchange on his walkie-talkie, he escorted me through the mall and sat me down in a dingy office near the food court. There was another stern-looking man there. All I could smell was cinnamon. They weren't sure if they were going to press charges and wanted to speak to my husband before taking any steps. I gave them Sylvia's number instead. An hour later, she had charmed and cajoled the two men into giving me a warning. Well, a warning and a lifetime ban from entering the store. She made up the story about how my husband was having an affair and I was having a minor nervous breakdown. I was impressed at what a convincing liar she was. I'd never guessed it. From then on, she called me Sticky Fingers. She'd poke me in the ribs and say, "Take that, Sticky Fingers." The smell of cinnamon still unsettles me. The next time I was caught, I wasn't that lucky. Sometimes I wonder if I actually wanted to get caught. Either way, I guess that it would have happened sooner or later. I mean, I wasn't going to stop stealing, so it was inevitable. My lucky streak, my magical power, wasn't going to last forever. I had had so many close calls over the years, over a lifetime. My sticky finger magic was due to run out. Derek and I were staying in a luxury hotel in Camps Bay, with a room that overlooked the sea. The kids were with his mother for the weekend, and we decided at the last minute to hop on a plane to Cape Town. We were pretending to be spontaneous. It's something rich married people do to try to keep their relationship exciting. It's weird because it's like you're pretending to be someone else for the weekend. Someone young, childless, passionate, romantic. And you try to reconnect with your significant other, but he is also pretending to be that other, lighter person. But really neither of you are yourselves. So you drink more than usual and have kinkier sex than usual. But when Monday rolls around and he is pulling out his hair looking for his favorite tie for a meeting and you are wiping toothpaste off your toddler's cheeks, and this is your real life, and did the weekend in Cape Town actually even happen? But there we were, in the hotel spa, after a full-body Swedish massage and a quickie in the Rasul chamber. We went to our respective change rooms to shower, and before I left I did what I always do. I checked all the lockers. It's like checking a casino slot machine or a basement parking ticket machine for abandoned coins, except that some women are lulled into such a secure stupor by their privileged lifestyles that they don't even bother to lock away their things. I got 3/4 of the way through when I hit the jackpot. A shiny new snakeskin Louis Vuitton handbag with matching wallet and belt. The bag was too big to steal, and I had no need for the belt, so I took the wallet. It was a thing of beauty, not more than a few days old. The fact that it was a wallet meant that they would probably assume that a member of staff took it, for the cash, although I left behind her jewelry. It was gaudy, diamonds and tanzanite. I held the necklace against my collarbone to see how it would look, just as a matter of interest. It confirmed what I already knew. Blue stones are not my style. A lady in a white spa bathrobe came in just as I was sliding the wallet into my own handbag. I played it cool, pretended that I was doing nothing unusual. I was just a woman putting her wallet into her bag. But, unfortunately for me, the robed lady happened to be the owner of the Louis Vuitton. It took a while for her to register what I was doing. I think she must have first thought, "Oh, look, that lady has the same wallet as me." But then her eyes traveled to her locker, saw the door was open, saw that it had been plundered. Her face, previously scrubbed and blissful-looking, jumped into ferocious mode, and she proceeded to throw the biggest hissy fit I've seen. She was like a toddler on a double espresso. The words she was shouting at me didn't even make sense. I tried to calm her down, explained that it was a misunderstanding. I thought that it was my bag, but then I realized I had brought my other bag, so I was putting it back. It's when I saw the jewelry that I had realized that it wasn't my locker. Tanzanite, I said. I never wear tanzanite. That's what made me realize. It was an unlikely story, but weaker ones had worked before. People are desperate to believe the best in other people. But not this manic mad woman. She seemed half outraged, half delighted to have a bit of drama in her day. Despite my constant assurances that she had misinterpreted the situation, she turned and fled the room to call security. I used my towel, still damp from the shower, to quickly wipe down her locker and the things of hers I had touched. Now it was her word against mine. I glided out and headed in the opposite direction to the noise she was creating at the spa reception. I left through the back door and scuttled my way up to our hotel room. Derek was asleep, naked, on the bed, and I sat in our patio, looking at the sea, waiting for the knock at the door. It took the hotel manager 20 minutes to figure out my name and room number. It had been staring out at him from the spa appointment book. He knocked softly at first. It was easy to ignore. Then louder, and he started calling my name. Derek stumbled out of bed, confused but overly alert, the way you are when your nap is rudely interrupted. I threw a gown at him before I opened the door. The man doing the knocking looked apologetic the moment he saw us. "Terribly sorry," he kept saying, "terribly sorry to inconvenience you, but could you come down to the hotel reception?" "What is this about?" Derek demanded. "Terribly sorry. There seems to be some kind of... I'm sure it's a misunderstanding." "Is there a problem?" my husband asked, still pale from sleep. "There may not be," said the manager. They looked at each other for a good time, perplexed. "I know what this is about," I said. "Some crazy woman at the spa was accusing me of going through her locker. She was screaming at me. She kicked up such a fuss." "Yes," said the man, clearly relieved that he wouldn't have to make an allegation. Derek sighed. "I should have complained," I said to both of them, being accosted like that. "Yes," said the man. "A misunderstanding, that's what I told her. Will you come down so that we can clear it up?" I paused. An innocent woman would have flown downstairs to clear her name. I sensed that if I went down there, I would get into a vast amount of trouble. Both men sensed my hesitation. The manager's eyes pleaded with me to cooperate, to not make his day any more difficult than it already was. Derek jumped in. "Well, was anything actually taken?" he asked. "Taken?" said the man. "Stolen. Was anything stolen from the woman?" He paused. "She's not making much sense, the lady. She's very upset. It's hard to know." "So can you please then explain to me why you don't just tell this lady to stop fabricating defamatory stories about my wife?" I loved Derek so much in that moment. I felt so loved, so protected. He would get me out of this. He started to close the door, but the manager stopped him. Both men were gentle. There was no tussle. The man looked intensely uncomfortable. Eventually he blurted out, "It's the ring." "What ring?" asked Derek. "That ring," he said, motioning to my left hand. I looked down and saw a diamond and tanzanite ring on my index finger. I don't even remember putting it on. Things moved both quickly and agonizingly slowly from then. The police were called and I was arrested almost immediately and charged. But the waiting in between was torture. Hours of staring at the grimy jail cell walls. Hours sitting on cheap cracked chairs waiting for some kind of admin to be done. Paperwork to be processed, questions asked, answered and repeated ad nauseum. When they told me that my lawyer was getting on a plane to Cape Town, I wanted to tell everyone, not to bother. I wanted to say, just give me the orange overalls and tin mug and bus me to wherever the hell I'm going to end up. At the time, it seemed preferable to waiting for a lawyer to make his way to me all the way from Joburg. Derek had, of course, hired the best lawyer money could buy. And when Mazarakis did finally walk into the beige room they were keeping me in, I was very happy to see him. You would never have said that it was a Sunday, or that he had just been on a plane, with his sharp suit and alarmingly clear blue eyes. I, on the other hand, Felt that I had aged 20 years in the last few hours. I looked different, felt different. I was a completely disparate person to the woman who had a loving husband and 2 beautiful children, or the woman who had had a massage overlooking the ocean that morning. My skin was whiter, thinner, my pores larger, my body vulnerable. The enchantment had been broken. I had been exposed for who I truly was. Mazarakis was calm and measured, and explained what I was to expect in the next few hours and days. I'd have to stay in custody overnight, as they could only apply for bail on Monday morning. He was apologetic at that, as if it was his fault I had stolen the ring. He never asked me if I did actually steal anything. I think Derek must have told him about my problem. After bail was set, I was allowed to fly home with Derek. He was angry with me, cold, but still sat next to me on the plane, despite lots of free seats in the first-class cabin. It's a terrible feeling, knowing you have let someone down so badly. The exigent guilt settles into your body. Your organs become heavy with dread. We refused the complimentary Graham Beck Brute and the cheddar straws. They had no place in this new, upside-down world of ours. Derek had a business day open on his lap, but I could tell he wasn't reading it. I could almost hear the thoughts crowding his head. What was she thinking? Why would she risk so much? What if she has to go to prison? She doesn't even like Tanzanite. And of course, what about the children? Who will be their mother? Of course, the same questions had been haunting me for years, and I could never answer them. I'm dishonest by nature, but this is true. If I could have fed my addiction in a less destructive way, I would have. During the trial, Sylvia stayed at the house with the kids. She fed them, bathed them, took them to school. She kept photos of them in her wallet and on her phone to show me when we caught up, in snatched spells during proceedings. She brought paintings that they had done for me, showing us as the perfect little family, standing outside our perfect little house. I couldn't help noticing that the mother in the picture was starting to look more like Sylvia than me. I was so grateful that she was there to support Derek. He was taking it very badly. She would sit next to him in court, with a brave face, positively glowing in comparison to him. Every time I caught his eye, he gave me this pained expression, as if he already knew it was all over. Sylvia brought me things from home, small comforts, pajamas, toiletries, books, even homemade chocolate peanut butter cookies that she had baked using my recipe, in my oven. We would have won the case. Mazarakis said so. He said there was absolutely no evidence against me, apart from that damn ring, which he creatively and successfully explained away as a misunderstanding. There was no convincing evidence against me, until on the day of sentencing the prosecutor received a delivery from an anonymous source. It was a large brown box full of notebooks. My lifted ledgers, full of years of detailed entries of all the things I had stolen. Of course, they were in my handwriting and covered with my fingerprints. When I recognized the covers and realized what they were, it felt like I had been stabbed in the chest. A quick, nimble blade between my ribs, in and out. And then a slow, cold bleeding. It turned out that I hadn't learned how to keep a secret at all. Only one person had known about those notebooks, and where they had been hidden. As the prosecutor introduced them to the court, and they were admitted as evidence, I looked at Sylvia, but she wouldn't return my gaze. It was then that I saw her hand on Derek's lap, and his hand on hers, and I could hear her voice in my head saying, "Take that, sticky fingers." The end.